Imagine picking the Eagles last week.
Hey man, you got to get upsets in. Like it's just a numbers game at some point.
What was your quote? Because I didn't remember your quote, but please just remind the audience of your quote from last week about the Eagles.
Well, we were going through the games at the end, and you're like, yeah, we're mainly all the same here. Like, well, except you picked the Eagles to win. It's like, but you just did that for the upset, right? I was like, no, I'd pick that game either way.
Good. Okay. Now that we've got that all the way, and the fans know how intelligent we are in terms of football knowledge, how'd you do last week?
I think I tried to outsmart the game itself, and I went 8-5 last week.
Well, I mean, I went 8-5 too, so I don't think it was that bad. And then upsets and your lock.
Well, for upsets, I went 1-2, and for my lock, I went 0-1.
Okay. 1-2 for my upsets, but guess what? I technically beat you this week because my lock was 1-0.
Yep, yep.
Who'd you lock?
Locked San Fran to beat Indy.
Jeez. I think we're gonna have to jump from that ship soon.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I,
Hey, I'm fine if both of our NFC candidates to make the Super Bowl just don't even make the playoffs. I'm fine with that.
listen. You can keep trashing on your own pick. I'm not out on my pick yet. You don't know anything about my pick. Because my stance on them the entire time has been like, hey, they're probably going to be like right around a wild card team, and then it's like, who knows what's going to happen from there.
Wild card game will be close, and then they'll lose. That's what would happen if
Yeah,
they make
but
it in
all
the
their
playoffs.
games are close, so I mean, they only got to get lucky like 3 times to get to the Super Bowl to get crushed by whoever they play.
Getting hard for them to get lucky once.
Yeah, you're probably right. They're probably only going to make it to the NFC Championship now that I think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the best team in the NFC is probably Arizona right now. I mean, maybe you could say it's Tampa. If you want to say it's Tampa, I can understand that, but no, I mean Minnesota almost beat Arizona. Just remember that in Arizona, it was right there. So
That's just because Gus Johnson was on the call. That's just because. I mean, even that Jags game, Arizona didn't play that well because you're intimidated. Gus Johnson's in the building. All right, you gotta maintain some composure.
okay, gotcha. Now that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's start off with our recap though. Denver at Cleveland.
Yeah, you and I both picked Denver in this one because we record these on Wednesday before all the games happen. We thought we had all the information we had to like make a decision on this one. Where it's just like, oh, Baker isn't playing, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, they aren't playing. Both their tackles aren't playing, but nope, that wasn't the case. Jedrick Wills did play. Odell and Jarvis aren't going to be playing. Nope, they both played, and that really just kind of screwed up everything for us when it came game time. And I sat down and watched. It's like, oh, Odell and Jarvis are both active. Nope, Cleveland's gonna win this game now, because we have a whole little short, busted play dedicated to who we think is the best backup QB in the league, and your candidate was Case Keenum, and I mean he's right up there, for backups with me too. So he's very competent. I mean, very similar to Baker as well. And then I did not expect the Ernest Johnson to play as well as he did. I mean, that just goes to show how well Cleveland's run scheme and everything, and also him as a player too. I'm not going to discount him as a player. Uh is because he just tore it up against the Broncos, and also the Broncos are just terrible. They are on the same level as Carolina of being 3-0 frauds. Like it's disgusting how those two teams have played, since getting those 3 wins. Just gross. And Vic Fangio might lose his job. I it seems that way. I mean, if Denver could find a way to like bring in a head coach and like demote Fangio to defensive coordinator, that would be perfect. But I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, that just doesn't happen around the league. I kind of be okay with it, but I mean, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Um, I honestly don't have like an excuse in terms of like Cleveland's offense. I mean, they did have more guys than I expected, but that really didn't bother me. I mean, they still didn't do very well on the offensive side of the ball. They put up 17 points, and honestly, I knew Dearness Johnson, if he was starting, I knew he would get yardage. Maybe not quite as much as he did, but I didn't think he would be like a detriment to the team. I just can't believe Denver's offense just still can't like get anything going. It is so miserable watching them on the field with the players they have on the offensive side of the ball. It just feels like they're so held back by the quarterback position, no matter who's playing for them. And it's basically been like that since Peyton Manning, but even like the last 2 years of Peyton Manning were just like terrible. So now, I mean, you get rid of like, how many years did Peyton spend in Denver? Maybe 5, 4, something like that. If you get rid of like those first 3 or 2 years that he really played well, I mean, they have not had like a good quarterback situation the entire time. And yet it's always felt like the roster has been fine. It's just the quarterback has just been so unfortunate with what they've had there. They were lucky to have Peyton for the time they did. But yeah, no, I just still can't believe that Denver's offense is so lackluster. I mean, they're very frustrating to watch, and I can't imagine being a Broncos fan watching that on a week-to-week basis. I would get very annoyed, and that's really where I'm going to put most of the blame here, because I don't think Cleveland did anything crazy putting up 17 points. It's just like, wow, Denver. Yeah, you're not going to be able to compete with anybody that's at a high level in the NFL, that's playing at a high level in the NFL, if that is how many points you can put up. That's just terrible.
Yeah, it's really tough because I the whole debate of like wins aren't a QB stat and everything, and with Denver it's like you try to look at everything else on that team and it's like it's really, really good. The surrounding team around the QB is really good, but just not having a quarterback is doing like so much to hurt that team's chances of winning games.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Also, I love Demetric Felton. I feel like he's going to have a great career of being that guy where you stop paying attention to the game for 5 minutes and then you're like, whoa, he has like 6 catches for 58 yards right now. What's going on? Like a James White kind of guy.
Well, I mean, I also think it's funny that we had the conversation last week of like, could the Browns get rid of Odell and Jarvis and just like move on? And yet, one of your reasons picking against the Browns was because Odell and Jarvis are out. Just gonna point that out. Okay, Kansas City at Tennessee. Boy, I was so glad this was the one game that I picked as an upset last week that I was like, okay, yeah, this feels right, because somehow Kansas City was favored, and Kansas City just got walked all over.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how they were favored in this game. I mean, maybe it's just because looking at it, it's like, oh, they had a bad game against Buffalo, went to Washington, and they still looked bad, but they won. But that's ridiculous of having them favored in this one. Yeah, Tennessee just walked all over them, crushed them. Mahomes needs to get it together, man. Like, so does Tyreek Hill, because a lot of turnovers, it's like those two combining for interceptions that happen. Like, I don't know how Tyreek Hill's just forgotten to catch the ball over the past season. It's crazy. Maybe Mahomes is putting a little too much on it. Maybe he's throwing a little bit harder now to make up for it. But yeah, he's doing a lot of boneheaded stuff the prime example for this, just looking back at the preseason game that they played against Arizona, and everyone's just like, well, he's not going to do stuff like that during the season. And now he's doing stuff exactly like that during the season. I
mean, listen, we brought the story to the internet first of Mahomes becoming a little too much of a daddy's man, and he's not focusing enough on football, and we said, oh, watch this preseason game against Arizona, it's looking a little sus. And we pointed that out, and honestly, neither of us bought into it, but just the fact that we pointed it out and now it's actually playing out, kind of nice. I like giving ourselves credit for that stuff. No, but I mean, what do you even say? It's just the same thing we've been saying about Kansas City for the past 5 weeks. I still think it's eventually going to end. It's going to end at some point. They're not going to keep turning the ball over this way. It's going to be impossible. I mean, maybe it takes putting Chad Henne in the game to make this offense just be boring, as boring as it can be, but they'll do something to stop turning the ball over. And I mean, they still have players on the offense. I don't understand where like how people flip the switch so quickly on a team. Like everybody's just like, I don't know how I didn't see Kansas City being awful this season. And it's like it's like, what did they lose? They didn't lose anything. Everybody's like, I should have seen this coming, that Kansas City was going to start being really bad this year. And it's seriously, this is like most media outlets now, and they're just like, oh, this Kansas City team is so bad, like we should have seen it coming. And it's like, how could you have seen it coming? They've literally only improved their roster over like the past 2 years. So how could you possibly say, like, all their key players are still there? Chris Jones is still there. Tyrann Mathieu is still there. Tyreek Hill is still there. Travis Kelce is still there. Patrick Mahomes is still there. Every single one of the guys I just named is literally potentially considered the best player at their position in the NFL. I don't know how you can say that roster's bad. They got a better O-line than they had last year, which was the main concern. And I don't know. It's gonna work out. It's just, it doesn't make any sense why everybody's completely out on them. And I still think they're gonna make the playoffs. It's just now they've almost this how far they've gone away from it. It's like, man, they're really going to be scratching and clawing their way into the playoffs, and they're going to need to get hot at the right time to have any sort of chance in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, saying that, oh, I should have seen Kansas City being bad this season is ridiculous, because all offseason it was just people freaking out like, yep, they got a better O-line now. It's over. It's over now. Like, yep, Mahomes is just going to rule the NFL for the next 10 years. This is what everyone was saying. But, I mean, it's just unprecedented, the amount of, like, bad turnovers that have been going on. I mean, if you look at, like, potential turnover throws or whatever Pro Football Focus calls them that Mahomes has had, it's, like, still equal. It's just that it's
they've all actually gotten turned over.
In the unlucky way now, where it's just like, yeah, these are getting picked now instead of dropped. So he's still playing the same way he is. It's going to turn around eventually. But yeah, getting hot at the right time is really important, because they are going to squeak in at 6 or 7 for the playoffs. But
on the other hand, we have to mention Tennessee. Tennessee may be, they're probably the hottest team in the AFC right now. I don't know. You can make the argument against that for the NFC, because the NFC is actually playing well. Even though I said before the year, I thought the AFC was better. It seems like the NFC is playing a lot better than the AFC currently is. And I'd say the Tennessee Titans are probably like my top dog in the AFC, with like, shockingly somehow, and we'll get to this team, the Bengals, close seconds.
Yeah, Tennessee's in a great spot to, I mean, get that stranglehold on the 1 seed for the AFC and just hold on to it. They're in the weakest division in the AFC, maybe in football. And I don't see like any of those teams beating them at this point. And their schedule, I mean, looking at it going ahead, very winnable games for them down the road. They have the tiebreaker with the Bills. They have the tiebreaker with the Chiefs. They have their destiny in their hands right now. Just win out and they're set. But I mean, it's the NFL, and that's the hardest thing to do. Is just, we're just gonna win out now. You just don't decide on that.
Yeah, because they like lost to the Jets, and it's like, well, you're gonna pull that again? Like, that's what Arizona's supposed to do. Arizona's supposed to be the team that we said before the season is just losing games that they shouldn't. And somehow this year it's the Titans, and Arizona's winning every single game, and they're turning it up a notch, which is where we thought the Titans would be. But we've still got a lot of games to go. I mean, we're only 7 games in for most of these teams, if not less games, because teams have gone on bye now. But yeah, I think that's basically a good place to leave it with them. Washington at Green Bay.
Rodgers just really good. I mean, that's a great point to start off with, but also, I mean, the football team's offense looked better than usual. I mean, than weeks past, but that's not really saying much. And I mean, I've said this every single week that we've talked about them since we've really gotten a feel for them as a team, where it's just like the defense was supposed to be elite so the offense could be mediocre. And now it's like the defense is not good. The offense is still mediocre. So you're asking way too much from an offense that like can't win a game.
I don't even think they're mediocre. I don't
I
even
mean,
think the offense
Taylor
is.
Heineke, he does something to like, give you a little juice, and Terry McLaurin as well. But the rest of that offense, I mean, Antonio Gibson really hasn't been up to snuff, as of late.
No.
Uh, and the offensive line isn't that great either. You got some rookies and also some like old vets on there too, which I mean that's a good combination. But neither of those guys are playing top level, and you're going against a Green Bay team that has some great pass rushers, and Aaron Rodgers is still great, and he just carved up that defense. He's on a roll.
I
Just had
mean,
to lose Jameis week 1.
honestly, for whatever reason this week, which was kind of annoying on the Red Zone channel, I would have been fine if they didn't show any of this game. But when I'm watching the Red Zone channel, of course, they'll pick out whatever game I am enjoying the least and that will get played the most. But, no commercials, so that's still a big plus. So I'd rather watch crappy football than commercials. So I'm watching this, and it's just like the Packers are literally just trying to keep Washington in the game. Like, they're trying so hard to just keep Washington in the game and keep giving them opportunities over and over and over again. And then Taylor Heineke, I don't know if you saw this play. This is incredible. Third and goal, somewhere like the 5-yard line or in maybe. Scrambles to his right, can walk into the end zone. Has a defender with like a slight angle on him that with like a receiver in front of him that if he just slightly maneuvers, he'll be able to be in the end zone standing up. And instead he takes like the worst angle possible, dives, not only dives, but like doesn't actually like elevate himself when he dives, slides his knee across the ground, and then is called short after they initially call it a touchdown because they realized, oh, he gave himself up before the end zone. He's down on the 1-yard line. And then they go for a QB sneak and get absolutely stuffed because, it seems like that's what everybody wants to do on 4th and short now. It's just always go with the QB sneak. And I think we actually need to start moving away from that in the NFL as a whole, unless you're very specific players that are extremely good at it. And honestly, in recent years, it doesn't feel like you could say that about anybody, so I don't even know who you would go with there. Brady stopped doing it. They haven't done it in Tampa the past 2 years. So
Well, that's why they got Gabbert there.
No, Kyle Trask. Stop that.
No, he's for the red zone.
Yeah.
Bruce Arians has
Red
Gabbert
zone.
rated for a reason. He's the most underrated QB sneaker in the league.
Man. No, but I've just been really disappointed with Washington, and they're playing about as poorly as they can. And yet, even though Green Bay's winning these games, I don't know. I still question Green Bay like so much. That was not like the final score. What did it say? They won by like 14. The way each of these teams played, like the talent on Green Bay's roster, and then how crappy Washington was just like trying to give the game away. It should have been so much worse. And the Packers were the home team. But they keep winning. That's the problem. It's like hard to say the Packers are bad because they're 6-1. They're not bad either. I don't think they're a bad team, but I really hate sometimes how they get looked at because I'm like, why are you playing with the Lions for like 3 quarters when they're not it's not like it's what happened this weekend in LA where they're literally pulling out all the stops for them to keep a game close against the Rams. Just Lions playing normal football, and the Packers are keeping it close for 3 quarters because, hey, why not? Like, this team, you're better than that, so be better. And that's why I've been annoyed with them for probably so long, just because I don't feel like they do that. And sometimes they'll just have the games like the first game of the season, where on the opposite end of it, they won't just get beaten; they'll just get beaten to a pulp, and it's like. What? I don't know. I don't like that they win close, and then when they choose to lose, they'll lose by a large margin. They don't really like to do they don't really like to lose by like 1 point or something. Unlike Minnesota, the other team in their division. Yeah. So now I'm rambling. I should probably stop because I already said this game was boring, and I just got us to talk about it for about 5 minutes. You're good with that one? You have nothing else to say?
Yeah, it's more the same.
Okay, cool. Next up, we've actually got probably our favorite game of the week.
Yeah.
Cincinnati at Baltimore.
Yeah, the complete opposite of more of the same. Jeez. I love Joe Burrow. I absolutely love Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase is looking like he might be offensive rookie of the decade. He I don't know if there's many receivers in the league that I would take over Jamar Chase
That's what I
right
was
now.
gonna say. Jamar Chase is not playing at an offensive rookie of the year level. He is playing at as like the best player at his position, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I like maybe DeAndre Hopkins is the one guy that I take over Jamar Chase, if that. But it's like he's right there at the top of best player in the league at his position. Joe Burrow is slinging it. That their defense is like not incompetent, which is blowing my mind because going into the season, that was like besides their offensive line, which I mean has really come together. Uh, Guys like Quentin Spain are like stepping up and playing like extremely well when they're like replacement level guys, which is amazing. But that defense, I mean, outside of like the pass rushers that they brought in, gave big money to this free agency and Jesse Bates the third, really not a lot of talent throughout that defense, but they're just playing as a unit and really cohesive and forcing a lot of turnovers and creating havoc. And that's coming with their pass rushers as well. Just getting pressure on the QB and containing Lamar is no easy task, and they did it to a T last week. Just amazing football. Also, Evan McPherson, got to give it up to you. Not that this was a big kick this week, but he's had some big kicks previously, and every team needs that guy that's making big kicks. Evan McPherson's been doing it outside the Packers game, but I mean,
I said it. I said it in the preseason. I was excited for him, and even in the Packers game, both his misses were by like an inch. Crosby's out here being a 20-year vet and missing by a mile, and just like whatever. So I mean, no, I like McPherson a lot, but probably not the guy that most people want to focus on. I can't believe the defense either. It's absolutely insane the fact that how few points really get scored against them on a consistent basis. I'm not surprised the offense is able to put up points. I mean, the only question mark on the offensive side of the ball was really, okay, can the O-line protect? The O-line has protected. We trust everybody else at the skill positions. Maybe the one other spot is CJ Uzama absolutely just cooking now for seemingly no reason, just like, oh, yep, I'm good now. Like, I'm like elite now almost. And it's like, I don't know if we're going to say that consistently in the future, but for the time being, he's playing at that level along with Jamar Chase. That helps you out a lot. And there's no one on the offensive side of the ball that I'm really like disappointed with. On the other hand, the defense, just I got mad at them this offseason because I thought they were like letting guys go that were better players than the guys they're signing, but the guys they signed to replace the other guys that they let go are playing extremely well, if not better. And even all the guys that I consider like no names, like I swear they still have no linebackers on this team. I don't know any of them, but the defense is playing well as a whole. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive. So props to them, the entire team, for everything that they've got going on. I can't believe that they beat Baltimore by 24 points, especially coming off a week where Baltimore beat LA by 25 points. How? Just how? I have no idea. And huge props to the Bengals. Meanwhile, Baltimore, just you'll be fine. I'm just really gonna be interested to see how this game goes next time you play these guys specifically, because I know Baltimore's going to be able to compete with almost anybody in the NFL, but 24 is a lot of points, and next time you got to go on the road. So I've got a feeling that there's going to be some bad blood, and it's crazy how the AFC North is shaking up now, because that may get heated between these two guys, because we know one team that likes to hold grudges is Baltimore, and getting beat by 24 points is not something they're used to say the least.
Yeah, getting beat by 24 points to a team that was expected to be one of the worst in the league.
No, by me. That's like they're the only team in the NFL that is as opposite as I thought they could be. Like Arizona, we were crapping on Arizona. They're the fun one to point out, because we were like, coaching holds them back. We think the roster's great, but we think coaching holds them back. But No, they've. I mean, the talent has shown through, and if you want to say the opposite, the coaching has actually been really good for them. So we knew they had the potential. I didn't think there was any chance the Bengals would be at this point. And it was even still, even as recently as 2 weeks ago, it still felt like a joke to me how good this team was. It was just like, oh, yeah, I mean, we'll see when they play a good team. And they just whooped Baltimore, so I don't know what we can say anymore.
Yeah, again with Arizona, it's like we always, I don't want to say had that fallback, but it was like that, where it's just like, coaching's holding them back. The talent's there, though. And we could talk about that. When we looked at Cincinnati, it's like top down, this team is not going to be good. It's like Zach Taylor isn't that great. The roster is not that good. And it's just exceeding expectations beyond a mile.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel the same way. Baltimore, they're going to be fine. They're going to make the playoffs. I still think that they can win the division as well. Sorry, Cincy fans. I think it's more likely that Baltimore wins the division than Cincinnati holds on to it.
Well, if we're talking about placement, Cincinnati definitely should have an easier schedule. I mean, not actually looking at the schedule, just according to where they finished last year, Cincinnati should have a lot easier schedule than Baltimore did.
Mm-hmm. Well, playing Cleveland twice and Baltimore again, that's a little rough. And I mean, you get 2 free wins playing the Steelers.
Yeah, say that. Yeah, we'll see about that. Definitely see about that.
We got one.
Oh, jeez, we have to talk about this game. Okay, I mean, we've been going in depth for a lot of these. I think we got a little stretch here where we will not be going in depth at all, because really these early games were my strong opinion ones. Carolina and New York Giants.
Yeah, I mean, we going into this game, we both picked Carolina, right? You picked Carolina in this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I didn't want to say something wrong here, but going into this, I think we looked at it and it was like New York has no talent. They have talent. All of it's hurt. All the offensive talent that could keep them in games was hurt, and it's like they have no way to win this game. And then you look at Carolina, it's like rough patch, but you got Darnold, you got this great secondary, and then I have to remember they're not a good team, and not good teams do lose to teams that are worse than them. And that was the case for this one. Like I was baffled with how bad this was, because I thought I didn't think it would be like a blowout for Carolina, but I thought who score win, nothing like ugly like this. Yeah, the Giants are winning games with like no one on offense, and Daniel Jones like doing everything. So maybe he is the franchise QB. I'll give it to him. He's just been carrying the team.
Zero credit to the Giants. I will tell you that straight up, Giants fan. Sam Darnold had put up 5 points before he got benched, like midway through the fourth quarter. You also should take into account the fact that 5 points actually means that nearly half of those points had to come from the defense. So that's just great. What in the world? How did we go from 300-yard passing games consecutively for Sam Darnold in the opening weeks of the season to this? I didn't think that this team was good, but I didn't think that I didn't think that Sam Darnold was bad enough to have that performance against the Giants defense. And maybe the Giants get hot here. Maybe the Giants start rolling, but that is not what I'm expecting, because I'm still pretty uncomfortable going with Danny Dimes to beat anybody when just talking about quarterback matchups. Yeah, no, Carolina, that's just really disappointing from you. I don't even know what your fans can be thinking after that performance, and that's really all I've got to say.
Well, if I'm a Carolina fan, I'm just thinking, when does Gilmore get off the pup? But yeah, maybe the Giants do get hot. I mean, their next opponent is it's Kansas City.
Yeah. One of the most down in the dumps team in the league. So I'm hoping that when our episode comes out tomorrow, that Jake and I both will be picking the Giants. I mean, I'm not saying whether I did or not, but
I would love if And
I mean, we both said we wanted the Bengals to win last week, and we didn't pick them. So
I mean, I would just love if the Giants for the rest of the season started playing like the Lions. It was just like every game, just do a bunch of wild stuff like fake punts, onside kicks. I mean, Joe Judge should be good at that. Former special teams coordinator.
Well, I
Should
mean,
have a lot of tricks up his sleeve.
like I said, one of the things we learned this week watching the NFL is that NFL teams realized, wait a minute, we can run this. This was even before the Lions game. The Lions game hadn't even started when I put this video on, or this short on our YouTube. Just like NFL teams realizing that they can run more than one trick play in a game. Somehow that just occurred, and it happened for so many teams on the same weekend. Teams running all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I think that's a good place to leave that one. And I don't think this next one will be too long either. Atlanta at Miami.
Yeah, this is just each team trying to give the other team the win, and then the other team like being like, no, you can win the game. No, you can win the game. All the way until the end. Yeah, it was really disgusting. Tua didn't look good the whole first half. I mean, towards the end there, did look better. I will give him that. He looked better in the second half. It looked like he was actually trying to win. And I do, like, I'm not a big Tua fan, but I do feel bad for him with all these rumors circulating of a guy that he might get traded for that might not even be able to play, like, this season, might even be suspended, and he's just got to deal with all that. And then in his interview today, where it's like, do you feel wanted in Miami? He's like, I don't not feel wanted.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I feel bad for him. It's rough. And then losing to the Falcons is even rougher. Kyle Pitts has had his emergence. I mean, he's the second best skill position player to come out of the draft. At this point, it's Jamar Chase and then him. I mean, the one-handed catches on the sideline that he's been having recently, crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're almost on like a Daniel Jones level of impressive.
Yeah, I can't believe we didn't talk about that in that game.
No, keep going. Don't you dare go back to that game.
No, Kyle Pitts has looked really good. I'm going to keep talking about it every time we talk about the Falcons. Keep using Cordell Patterson because seeing him on the football field making a bunch of plays is awesome. Matt Ryan looks okay. I think the Falcons look like a really good 6-11 football team.
I complained about the Red Zone channel putting Washington Green Bay on too much. I am so glad that I didn't have to watch like any of this game. For some reason they were just like, yeah, nobody wants to watch that garbage. So yeah, no, I was kind of half annoyed that I even had to like take note of the score at the end of this week. I couldn't care less about this game, and sure, the Falcons won. One team had to, because if it didn't end in a tie, one team would have more points at the end. So the Falcons won it. I'm not taking much stock either way in that. Okay, New York Jets at New England.
Yeah, games that you won't take a lot of stock in. Like, I mean. No, this is a great showing for Mac Jones. I mean, you were talking about it with me a couple days ago. It's just like never, like you were the highest person on Mac Jones that I think in all of media, from what I saw on YouTube.
All of media.
ESPN,
yes, call
Sports
us,
Center.
lump us together.
Media. But all of media. I never saw anyone have Mac Jones at number 1. But even you said, yeah, I had Mac Jones at 1. Never would I have expected him to lead a team to score 50 points. Like, even not in his rookie year, just his entire career. And he did that his rookie year. I think this is more of a testament that the Patriots are not, like, they're good. The Patriots are good. It's just that they're still like 3 or 4 steps.
Game of the year next week.
Being in, oh yeah, game of the year next week. But they're 3 or 4 steps away from being in that great tier where they can really compete with like the upper echelon teams, but they're just curb stomping the Jets. And that is what every team in the league should do, but doing it with like the fury that they did, yeesh. I mean, also Jets fans, you didn't have Zach Wilson. I get it. I don't think that would have changed anything.
I
Because
don't
it
think
didn't
so
change
either.
anything during the game. Because the Patriots are still going down the field, scoring and stopping him on defense. But not having Zach Wilson is tough because that's if you're a Jets fan, that's why you're watching the games is to watch Zach Wilson get better and learn. And him being hurt, and you got to watch Flacco play football for you now. It's gross. That's gross, and I feel for you on that. Yeah, this is just a disgusting game.
Notes. This is why I actually think Bill Belichick is a good coach, and I don't even need to think about it for a second, because when he plays a crappy team, he will just stomp on their neck over and over and over again. And, I mean, we see good teams all the time, Minnesota, that can't do that at all, that are just, like, good teams and will play down to their competition. Or even better teams than that. I mean, there's some better examples in recent years. We haven't really seen which good team that's going to be this year. Maybe it's Green Bay, because I say Green Bay should be beating their team, the teams they play by way more. But I can't say that there's been an obvious one this year. But you never question it with Bill Belichick. When his team outmatches the opposing team, it is obvious that, and they will win by a large margin by the end of the game. So that's just awesome. Still think he's the best coach in the NFL. Then, like you said, the only other really huge takeaway from this game is the Zach Wilson injury. Just talk about how stupid the Jets are for bothering to trade for Joe Flacco. How does this help the organization at all? Are you saying that having Joe Flacco allows you to see more from other pieces on the roster? Like, is it something like, oh, if we didn't have Joe Flacco, then we would be wasting valuable development time for some of our young offensive talent or something? Is it like Mike White can't like throw screen passes to them or something? Because I'm not ready for Joe Flacco to be like carving up Cincinnati this week and hitting like 20-yard digs, and I don't know, just like any sort of impressive throws whatsoever that maybe he could make in his earlier career. I just don't know what the point of picking him up is. And if they get an extra win out of it, it may be the worst thing that they did, because they're just going to have a worse draft pick. I don't understand it at all, because they can't be looking at themselves after last week, allowing 50 points with a defensive coach at the helm of their team and thinking we're a playoff team this year.
No, I think it's really. I mean, I didn't like it during the offseason, the Jets not having a veteran QB on roster to like mentor Zach Wilson or just like be in the room with him, and they were getting a lot of flack for that. I think it's just them being like, nope, we're not going to bring one in, and just them being complacent. Like, nope, we're smarter than everyone else. We're not going to do that. We got all these young guys, and then Zach Wilson's injury finally happens. It's like, well, we need to bring in another quarterback, so they bring in a veteran. But I'm trying to think of vets that are on the street right now that they could have brought in without having to give up a pick. And
They already have Josh Johnson on roster. Did you know that? They already have Josh Johnson
he's
on
on
roster.
practice squad though. They have like
Oh, they
three
can't sign
guys.
him? They can't sign him?
No, I know. It's just stupid that it's like we need to give up a sixth that can become a fifth if Flacco plays enough, which I don't even know what that condition is. If he like plays a snap, maybe I don't know, or a game. But I thought the trade was really stupid.
It's
like,
dumb.
You have the field of all of these free agent QBs that you could just bring in. It's like, no, let's give up an asset that we really need, no matter how late the pick is. You can always use a draft pick when your team is that bad.
Yeah.
And you just give it up because you want to bring Joe Flacco back.
Absolutely. Okay. Next game. Philadelphia at Vegas. So please give me the rundown on this. I just want to hear your opinion.
And Miles Sanders went down with an injury like first drive. That sucks.
Really running the football a lot.
Well, I mean, yeah, when he does run it, it's efficient. Then they got the other bozos back there running the ball. Or no, Kenneth Gainwell doesn't run the ball. He's wearing 14 for a reason. Dude's just a receiver that lines up in the backfield. Then they got Boston Scott, who they're also going to underutilize. Just stupid. But Nick Sirianni loves his screen passes, and that hasn't changed from week to week. He just consistently runs them. It's like Nick Sirianni loves Chan Gailey. Like I'm certain of it. Like Nick Sirianni watches Chan Gailey and is like, yeah, he'd run screen passes on third down. But what if I ran them every down? And and that really just made his mind explode there. Uh no, the I'm gonna focus on the Raiders now because I don't need to talk about the Eagles that much. Um the Raiders have gotten better by letting Gruden go.
Yeah.
Uh,
I said it was
question-
possible. Did you not believe me?
no, I mean I wanted to see it for a couple games. That's why I picked against them the 2 games. Uh and yeah, it's for real now. Vegas is like actually good. And they're better now without having Gruden there because who would have thought adding 56 plays, the Saturday before a game, really could just like mess with your QB's head. Just really simplifying everything for Derek Carr, who is second in the league in passing yards, and just continuing to let him sling it. Even without Darren Waller too, so that's huge as well. Yeah, no, they looked good. They look good. Zay Jones as well. Zay Jones is really stepping up. He's like legit becoming like the second receiver on that roster, which is just wild.
I knew it would take some time. Darren Waller, being hurt may actually help this team, especially now that John Gruden's gone, because it literally felt like he was telling Derek Carr to throw him the ball every other play. Like we need to get this guy the ball. Like some really old school mindset of like we can't like avoid our playmakers. Like we just have to keep feeding our playmakers. Like if we have 1 or 2 guys on offense that are good, they need to get the ball at least 15 times or targeted 15 times or something. That just felt wild. I'm happy to say that we're probably not going to see that again once he comes back. Still be a very valuable piece for the offense, but it won't feel like as forced as much, which is probably going to help the team. And I think it's absolutely been hit on the head with what I said. I said there's probably like a 20% chance that this happened. 1 in 5 isn't great, but I did think it was possible, and I'm probably a much bigger John Gruden hater than most people. Even prior to what happened, like I just was not like I don't know if this is gonna go well, and it really hasn't most of this time. But now that they're getting hot and getting right, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna pick them against the majority of teams they go against, for the time being, or at least in like the following few weeks. I would pick them against most teams in the NFL. So my question to you then is, who's the best team in the AFC West?
Oh, the Chargers.
Is it by a mile? Or
Not
how
by a
close is
mile,
it?
but not by a mile. I feel like it's a hot take for me to say that I still think the Chiefs are better than the Raiders, but I do feel that way.
But how long is it going to take the Chiefs to figure it out?
That's the thing. That's because it legit could be next week. They figure it out and they just steamroll the Giants.
I know.
But then even when that happens,
Or they could
everyone's
lose
just
to the Giants this week.
or they
Do
could lose to
exactly
the
what they
Giants
did against
and
Tennessee.
Yeah, the Chiefs are like the biggest enigma I think I've ever seen in football. Like I cannot figure them out. Or not can't figure them out. I think everyone has an idea of the Chiefs now. It's just when is it gonna change? But yeah, I think the Chargers are the top of the AFC West with Chiefs spot. I think it's like a medium drop off between the Chargers and then Chiefs and Raiders. It's like little gap, and then a big drop off, and then the Broncos.
If the Chargers had went into Baltimore and put up even a solid fight, I would say that I would pick the Chargers over the Raiders. Since they got beat so badly in Baltimore, I feel like I would pick the home team if they were to play today. That's all I would do. I feel like they're perfectly even. And that's why I asked you the question, because I'm the
biggest Chargers supporter in all of Western New York that isn't a Chargers fan, so.
Nice. Glad to hear it.
I'm the owner of that exclusive title.
Okay. I mean, there shouldn't be much analysis to the next game, but we can let our emotions run wild. Detroit at Los Angeles Rams.
Let our emotions run wild is perfect because that is exactly what Detroit is. There's no analytics for the Detroit Lions. There's no game planning for the Detroit Lions. It's just pure raw emotion that is fueling that team to play football game. Like I would kill to be in the locker room when Dan Campbell gives his pregame speech. I would kill to be in there. I would also kill to be in that locker room when they pick up their first win. That's gonna be so much fun. I can't wait to see the videos that come out of them getting their first win.
I just hope they get it. I just hope they
I think they will. I think they will.
I think they will, but they've gotten this far. Like, it's not locked. It's not a guarantee.
I mean, the longer it takes to get it, the better that celebration is going to be. That's just what I'm thinking. Like week 18 win. But yeah, they just emptied the chamber emptied the clip against the Rams.
And still couldn't get it done.
Still couldn't get it done, but I love it. Do that every week. But I do like that they especially did it in this game. Because it's like we know what this game means to our quarterback, and he even called out Jared Goff after 2 weeks ago. It's like he needs to step up and be better. And then going into this game, it's like we're going to give you every opportunity to be great because we're going to do everything we can to put up points on the board. So the ball's in your hands to win this football game. I love that. I absolutely love that.
Well, I can't remember if we talked about this a few weeks back, at least on here, when we were going over what happened with the Lions. I think it was 2 weeks ago. They had a 4th down, and Jared Goff threw the ball away on 4th down. I don't know if we actually talked about that on here. I feel like I probably would have, so I shouldn't go too in depth on it. But that was just like the moment of, man, I feel like I got some confidence left in Jared Goff, but geez, how do we do that? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, we're okay with arm punting on 3rd down, throwing the ball away on 4th down. Just like, what are you doing? But yeah, no, this game, the winner that we thought should have won in the end won. But Detroit pulled out all the stops and came so close. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it every week, because if they do it every week, it's just going to start becoming expected. I think they could probably employ more trickery than your average team, but I feel like it may actually put them in a worse position to try to win if they consistently do this. I think doing it 1 week is okay, but yeah, I don't think they can start doing it on a consistent basis. Otherwise, it's not even a surprise anymore.
No, but definitely more trickeration in the play calling. Like, I'm not saying fake the punt every time, but go for it on 4th down more. Go for it on 4th down in your own territory. Come on. Do it. I love that. I also love that Dan Campbell. Go for 2 every time, too. That would be awesome. Oh, that would be great.
I mean, I think that could pay off for them. I actually agree with you, just because it's like this team knows that it's not making the playoffs. Like, you get to this point and it's like, okay, we know. But then again, it's like this team still feels like they actually like care about what's going on. So if they really want to get some wins, I think you actually can do what you're describing. So still rooting for Detroit, but
Always.
nothing surprising.
And you
in that
called
game.
me stupid for saying that I'm going to get really emotionally involved in this game last week. I was like, yeah, the Bills are on bye, so I have to get really emotionally invested into a game. I'm like, I'm picking Lions at Rams. And you're like, yeah, whatever, picking that game. It was a roller coaster, and I loved it.
Yeah, but who won? Like, it
doesn't matter.
I didn't. That's why I was telling you to not get invested. It's not because I didn't think that they could do something to make it interesting. Because they obviously did exactly what they needed to do to make it interesting. Whew. Chicago at Tampa Bay. I don't know what we're supposed to pull from this, Tampa Bay wise, but tell me what you're thinking.
I feel bad for Justin Fields. Get that kid out of Chicago. Matt Nagy's trying to ruin him. I mean, yeah, he hasn't played great, and I talked about this with you yesterday. He hasn't played great, and I mean, that's on him. Not playing great is on him. Not fully on him, but it's on him. You got to play better. But when there are reports of Matt Nagy's in his ear saying there's a 12th man on the field, quick snap it, throw, and that leads to an interception, that because there's no 12th man on the field and Matt Nagy's just in his ear nagging at him, telling him the wrong thing. Like, there's nothing Justin Fields can do to fix that when his coach is telling him exactly what to do and he does exactly what he says. It's just not a very conducive situation for him. I feel bad for him. And like you said, there's nothing to really take away from Tampa Bay. They're dominating the teams they play against.
Yep.
Like,
so, okay, Chicago, basically, I just entirely agree with you. I'm really I still think Justin Fields is an amazing talent, and I don't feel like the roster's weak enough that you can say that that like the roster's lacking around him for him to be able to do stuff. So that's not what I'm going to point to. I am going to point to the coaching, and hopefully he gets moved on from next season, which is not anything great to say about somebody, but I mean, it's just like, it feels like the roster's too talented to just have that happen, even though they're going against the defending Super Bowl champions. On the opposite side, Tampa Bay's still rolling. The only thing I want to say to people is, like, the guy who got the 600 touchdown pass ball in the stands from Brady, everybody who's saying he got, like, robbed or something, I mean, you're kind of insane. He's getting, like, and how would you possibly be able to know how much something is worth, like, just randomly off the top of your head? Are you really going to the Tampa Bay game like, Brady could have his 600th pass TD today, and I could get the ball in the stands, and I probably should know its exact value for when, like, some guy walks over to me after I get handed it. It doesn't make any sense. The guy's getting like $65,000 to $70,000 worth of stuff. Just chill out. I'm pretty sure he'll be okay because no one else is walking away with that.
Ball hostage because the ball's worth $500,000.
Yeah, but how would he know that at the
exact? No, I agree with you. I think it's really stupid when I see Mike Florio posting like 8 articles of like, he should have held the ball hostage.
Yeah, like okay, maybe you know the value of that Florio. I can't imagine that there's anybody else in the entire stadium that knows that a 600th touchdown pass ball is going to be worth $500,000.
And it's also, I think, in my opinion, maybe I'm just a good person, but it's the right thing to do. Like, I mean, like, come over, hey, can we get the ball back? That's Brady's 600 ball. And if I'm a big fan of that team, which that guy appears to be like, oh yeah, here, take it. Like, I'm not gonna be like, no, I need Tom to come over here and we can negotiate for some NFTs and Bitcoin. Actually,
honestly, I'd be like, no, if I'm a fan of the team, because one of the players from the team just gave it to me. But it really wouldn't take much to convince me to hand it back. Like, if I knew that I was going to get something else from the game, then absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no, I agree with you. I think it's a ridiculous conversation, and I can't believe how much people were getting, like, mad about it. So that's the only other takeaway I have from that game. Next up, we've got Houston at Arizona. So go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I think way back in like May, I was like, yeah, Arizona's gonna lose this one, just because I had that whole thing of like, Arizona's gonna beat the really good teams and they're gonna lose to the really bad teams. I mean, this game was a little bit closer, at least to begin with, than I thought it would be. That eventually just got wiped out, but I like Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz adds a new dimension to this offense that's like, I shouldn't say dimension because they just throw the ball, but adds another pass catcher to this offense. Different. I mean, Arizona really hasn't had I'm not going to call Zach Ertz elite, at least at this point in his career, but a good tight end ever.
I mean, who's the guy who's there with Kurt Warner? Who played with Kurt Warner? I mean, you're right. They haven't. I was gonna try to come up with some like stupid name, but like you can't even come up with a dumb.
To describe all their tight ends though that they've had, it's just like, I know what the guy looks like, don't know his name. Like Max Williams is like the perfect Arizona tight end. Dan Arnold was the perfect Arizona tight end, which is like, yeah, He's a tight end. He's not going to drop a ton,
He's average.
but he's not going to make plays.
No.
Zach Ertz is a playmaking tight end, and that's great for them to have. Also fits the retirement home narrative as well.
That's very important. Arizona.
Also, JJ Watt too.
Okay. Houston. Houston. I just realized JJ Watt played against his former team.
So
Houston.
did DeAndre Hopkins, but focus on JJ Watt.
I guess I kind of just once it's been like a full year that somebody's been on a new team, I just like I can't even like register that far back. So much changes in the league. It's hard to remember everybody who's played. But yeah, no, Houston, we knew you were a bad team. Knew that there was a 99% chance you would lose to Arizona. Arizona, you did the one thing that I asked you to do. Win this game handedly by the end of it. You did. Everything's good. I have no complaints from this game, but I also can tell you that I didn't analyze it very much because I didn't want to.
Yeah.
Next game, Sunday night game. I think we both picked the loser in this one. Indianapolis goes to San Francisco.
We did. I texted you at like the start of this, where it's just like time to shut Wentz down. He looked bad. Both QPs looked bad in this. It was a bad game. It was a really, really bad game, and I mean you can attribute the weather to that.
Yes.
But it just overall, it was a really gross game. The run games for either teams weren't really. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Jonathan Taylor looked good. Elijah Mitchell was great that first drive, and then the run game for San Fran just got shut down after that. Which I mean, attribute the Colts defense to that, and the Colts did. I feel like we get too caught up, or at least maybe I get too caught up in just this line of thinking like the Colts are trash, but they're not. The record reflects that of a trash team, but it's just because they had to go through the gauntlet of like fantastic elite teams.
Well, I mean, I told you that last week, but I can tell you this week I was not doing that in this game because I talked about me doing that last week, and I was like, I'm not doing that this week. I just thought San Francisco could actually win this game, but I think more of my takeaway from this is not thinking that the Colts are a better team than I thought they were. I think they're still about where I thought they were after last week. I think San Francisco's a worse team than I thought.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was gonna go. San Fran has really fell short of all my expectations. That I mean, I don't want to like give an excuse for why I thought that way, but a reason that they might have be underperforming like this is just they're in QB purgatory right now. They have no idea what they want to do with that QB position. And you and I both said when they drafted Trey Lance, it's like, I don't hate that pick. It's just that you have Trey Lance, and Trey Lance is going to get in, and he should just take over once Jimmy G gets hurt. That's once Jimmy G gets hurt, he takes over. It's done. Jimmy G's done then. He is injury prone at that point. He got hurt, and then it's like, oh, Trey Lance, go out there. And then Trey Lance gets hurt, and it's like, we got to put Jimmy G back out there now. And I think now that they had to put him back out there, and the plan was also to bench Trey Lance after that game too, so it didn't matter that he was hurt.
Okay.
But putting him back out there, I think they kind of screw themselves by doing that, because now it's just like, oh, what are you going to do now? Like I feel like, do I want to say that? I feel like keeping Jimmy G out there is kind of throwing in the towel for the season. But I feel like you do the same thing with Trey Lance, either, because you're getting development with Trey Lance, but also I don't think you can win games with Jimmy Garoppolo either.
Yeah, no, I think the right decision is to go once Trey Lance plays, like basically as the starter a full game, not like just like getting out there in like some special formations to run like a read option or an RPO or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like you have to stick with him. The other thing about this game is, even though I'm saying I'm taking away that San Francisco's worse than I thought they were, man, I will never, ever, ever look at a game with that type of weather and take it to mean much of anything. I really won't. I will never look at that game and be like, oh, okay, this means a ton or anything. Because I'm literally just watching that game, not rooting for a team at all, but just like thinking about what it's like to play in those conditions and just being like, I don't want to have the football in my hands ever when it's that type of weather. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Because it's just like You can have two arms on the ball. You can have it so covered up that it seems like there's no way it could ever come out. And then it takes like a pinky finger because it's soaking wet and the ball gets knocked free. And I honestly can't believe we don't have more fumbles and more dropped passes in games like that. I really think that they can be a mess because of that. And we still did see some fumbles, and we saw the Wentz interception that everybody else was saying was so terrible. But honestly, I didn't think it was that bad because mostly that's the type of plays I expect in the rain because that's all I'm thinking about when I'm watching a rain game. But also, I actually saw what he was trying to do. The tight end was wide open that he was trying to get the ball to. And literally, if the ball doesn't slip out of his hand, even though it's like a shovel pass, it slips out of his hand like slightly like down like this. If it releases where he wants it to like that, it's going over the linebacker and it's going to be a touchdown. I don't think it was that bad at all. I don't know. So I think that's the second time today I've had an opinion that's pretty anti the normal opinion of those. So take that for what you will.
That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. We are the media, after all.
We are the media. But yeah, not taking away too much from that game. Just that San Francisco's probably a little worse than maybe I thought.
Mm-hmm.
But they've also been proving that in games before this game too, which is also another reason to take that into account. And the last game of the week, the Monday Night Football game, New Orleans at Seattle.
3 primetime games of Geno Smith in a row, baby. This game was a defensive battle through and through. Wasn't really pretty. Both. You say that the QB sneak is dead. The Saints ran it successfully like 3 times on one drive with Jameis and got it every time. Who are you to say? Neither team really looked good though. Geno looked good on one throw to DK out the sideline, for a touchdown. But it was Geno Smith going against Jameis Winston. I'm pretty sure this was the game that people expected. But the Saints, though, they're kind of messing up our whole little algorithm we got going for them.
Well, I told you they could win or they could lose this game.
So
because we didn't
barely won.
We didn't know if it was that they were going to win every odd week of the season or that they were going to win every other game. I think it's that they're going to win every odd game of the season. But they also didn't win like convincingly at all. They kind of like played like trash and still were able to pull this one out. So it's like I don't know. Maybe they don't even know what they were supposed to do this week. They got confused off the bye as well. They were like, "Are we supposed to win or lose or what? What's going on?" I don't know. I just know that I'm glad that since they won this week, they're supposed to lose next week, and they're playing Tampa Bay, which makes it a little bit easier. I don't have a ton of takeaways from this game. Russell Wilson needs to return for the Seahawks to mean much of anything. I'm glad that hopefully they don't have another primetime game this week. They're playing Jacksonville, so that would be really weird if they do. I'm pretty sure that's falling in the middle of Sunday somewhere. And I feel like that's it, just because, New Orleans, you probably should have won this game, but still pretty boring.
Yeah.
I guess that's everything for our recap episode. Tomorrow, if you're watching this on Wednesday night, Thursday, we'll have our prediction episode for everything. So please check that out. If it's Thursday, probably evening is when that'll get released or beyond. So you can know every game, who will win and lose, and why. Yeah. So you can tell all your friends and look really smart and get really deep insight onto the NFL world this week. Do you have anything else?
No, I think we can cut this here.